Welcome to the big show.
He could go all the way. Oh, America, are you serious? It is showtime, baby. Here we go. Slam, jam, slam, bam. It's for this. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. Give it up, go.
Welcome to the big show.
Let me say,
Simply
wait. What's about to say,
breaks a couple of tackles. And look at him go! And look at him go! He could go all the way!
And welcome to Cold War Radio, ladies and gentlemen, live on our home base, WAAR. We are America Radio, your number one streaming source for political and government talk anywhere. My name is Hutch Bailey Jr., located deep down in the bunker in the city of Pittsburgh in my Smith & Wesson studio. Please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio, 2 A's in war. You can catch the show on Blueberry, YouTube, iHeartRadio. There is a Cold War Radio app. You can catch it right on Spreaker. The email to the show is scrtv@live.com, and the call-in line 412-567-1460. The chat room is up as usual on Spreaker. If you're listening live, that's where you need to be. You can also get that chat room on the free app. Go to steelcityresistance.blogspot.com for all the pertinent links to such things. You can catch the show notes links there. Again, you're going to need those tonight. And if you can possibly help, hit the donate button on the right-hand column of the website. Before we go any further, let me just send out some get well wishes. I a lot of times don't get a chance to delve a whole lot into the chat room. I got too many other things going on in the studio during a show. But I happened to go back over there, and Dano, man, I hope you're doing all right. I happened to catch that comment out of like 600 or something like that. I'm glad I caught it. I hope you're doing okay, man. Get well soon. Dano's been with us since the very beginning. And to all those of you in that category, I salute you. And I appreciate it because pickings were thin at the beginning, if you'll recollect. Now, I saw something tonight. I mean, it's been culminating over a couple days, but I saw this thing. There was a hearing. Senator Gillibrand held a hearing. Senator, I haven't done a damn thing in my life, Gillibrand, was up there, and she was really interrogating and trying to humiliate and castigating and scolding and talking down to the commandant of the United States Marine Corps, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? United States Marines were looking at pictures of naked women. Oh my God. The humanity. And people like progressive people like Gillibrand want to turn the Marine Corps into little girls, and all the rest of the politically correct pukes that were lining up making this a capital offense, that our Marines were looking at pictures of naked women. I damn sure hope they were. Unbelievable. I just can't believe we're turning this country into a country of victims in crisis mode. 47-some-hundred flights canceled because it snowed. You know, I mean, this is getting outrageous. Leave the Marine Corps alone. I want the Marine Corps to be the nastiest, most socially unfit people on the planet. And I'd say some expletives, but I won't. But they will. And they should. And God bless them. And God forbid they would follow their own hormones. My God, what a bunch of pussies we become. Hang in there, Marines. You're right. You're not wrong. Don't listen to any of that. Now, when you're doing it with your own fellow Marines, that's a little something. But if it was up to me, there wouldn't be any female Marines. I shouldn't say that. They wouldn't be integrated with the male Marines. They'd be in their own units. But anyway, it's not for me to decide. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention because I thought that was something that I think that we need to get the hell away from our armed services with this social justice BS. No more trans testicle training, no more sexual harassment training, no more any of that stuff. We can police our ranks without all that indoctrination. All right, enough on that. I'm going to play an audio. You can catch the video at steelcityresistance.blogspot.com right underneath tonight's episode if you want to see the video. Now, it's rather long, so I'm going to end the monologue section right here. But I want you to listen to this. This is Pat Condell, an Englishman who's got it spot on. I couldn't say it any better. I didn't want to paraphrase it. I didn't want to read it. It's 10 minutes long, so get yourself a beverage or whatever, but I want you to hear this. This is the most outstanding statement I have ever heard to date on this subject, and American politicians, you better damn well pay attention to this, because it's coming to this. It's coming to this in England, but I want you to listen to this. There's not a whole lot of foul language in it. There's a little bit, not very much, but there are some subjects in here that'll either make you proud or make you turn the show off.
This video is for all you third world criminals who are flooding into Europe illegally by pretending to be refugees. You can watch it on the smartphones that you all seem to have with you. It's just to let you know that everybody knows you're mostly able-bodied, fighting-age men, thousands of whom are pretending to be children because you don't have a shred of honour, dignity or shame between you. We know that you are not, in fact, refugees at all, but illegal invaders, opportunists and predators, and that your disgusting behaviour is making things much worse for genuine refugees who are not nearly as welcome here anymore, thanks to you. We also know that the American people dodged a bullet recently when they had the good sense to elect a president who will keep you and barbarians like you out of their country. However, having said all that, You won't get any trouble from us here in Europe. You see, we're multicultural. We're afraid to breathe too hard in case it makes us racist. So you can come here and crap all over our values and laugh at us, and we won't say a word. We're so self-consciously, decadently progressive that we've chosen to pretend that all cultures are equal, even backward, uncivilized ones like yours that don't even deserve to share the same planet. We're ashamed of our culture because it's so embarrassingly superior, and we think it needs taking down a peg or two for the sake of equality. And we're hoping that you primitive throwbacks will help us to do that by bringing with you the ugliest aspects of your ugly culture to drag us all down to your level. Well, it's not as if we haven't been there before, about 1,000 years ago. So, for example, if you arrive in Europe married to a child, Denmark and Germany are cool with that. There are now more than 1,000 Muslim men in Germany who are married to children. Isn't that progressive? And recently a court in Denmark ruled that Muslim migrants who are married to children should be allowed to stay together in case it infringes their, you've guessed it, human rights, a term that's been dragged through the gutter so many times on behalf of criminal chancers like you, it's absolutely worthless. Worthless to us, that is, but not to you, because when you commit the crimes that we all know you're going to, the bogus term human rights will be your get-out-of-deportation card. Not only that, if you sexually assault or rape a woman, again, as we know you're going to, our progressive politicians will try their best to make it her fault, as the female mayor of Cologne tried to do after the notorious New Year's Eve mass assault. If you rape a female No Borders activist, her colleagues will pressure her to keep it quiet in case it gives people the wrong idea about violent third world savages like you. And if you find yourself in Austria raping a 10-year-old boy in a swimming pool, relax, your conviction will be overturned on appeal because the judges believe that you might not have known that a 10-year-old boy didn't want to be raped. Yes, our judges in Europe are very progressive. In other words, they're on your side. The police and media, too, will conspire to keep your depravity hidden from the general population until it hits them squarely in the face, as it does now frequently in wide-open Sweden, the rape capital of Europe, thanks to you. Earlier this year, it was reported that nearly half of Sweden's women are afraid to go out on their own after dark because, well, we're not really supposed to say what the reason is, as that would be racist towards the lawless human vermin like you who are assaulting and raping Swedish women and children. Everyone in Sweden is so terrified of being a racist, you can do what you like. You can gang rape a woman in a wheelchair for hours, as happened just recently, and the police will let you go because they're not convinced that she fought back hard enough, what with being paralysed with shock and fear and all. And then, when local people get angry about this, leftists and feminists will organise a demonstration against their racism. You can't lose. If you're wanted for a crime in Sweden, which no doubt you will be, nobody will be able to identify you. The police don't like to issue a description of wanted criminals because it will almost always be somebody who looks like you, and that would paint a truthful picture of mass third world immigration that the Swedish government doesn't want people to see, because then even the docile Swedes might start to realise just how comprehensively they and their country had been betrayed. For this reason, the authorities in Europe generally are far more likely to crack down on their own citizens who publicise your barbaric behaviour than they are to address the behaviour itself. And you don't even have to feel ashamed about any of this, which is just as well, because you wouldn't know how. Whatever depths of depravity you sink to, masturbating in front of women and children, defecating in the street or in a public swimming pool, you really are a classy bunch. You'll never be held to account for it. Somehow we will always contrive to make it our fault. You can even sue the German government if they don't move quickly enough to give you all that free money you came here for. We all know you're unlikely to work for a living because you're so damned ignorant you're unemployable. But we welcome that difference in Europe today. We celebrate diversity. So, if you're coming here to Britain, here's a handy multicultural tip. Make sure you bring as many wives as you can. They can all collect benefit. Might as well claim what's wrongfully yours. Although I should point out that if you're coming here from Pakistan because you've heard from your cousins about the rich pickings to be had gang-raping English children, you should know that the English police have finally been shamed into addressing this problem against their will, so there is a chance that you will be arrested and end up in prison. But don't worry, you'll find so many like-minded perverts in there with you, it'll be just like being back home in Pakistan, where you belong. Anyway, I hope this little video will be of some help, and that perhaps some small dim light bulb in the back of that stunted growth you call a mind will help you understand that behind the sunny multicultural smiles and the positive buzzwords like tolerance and diversity, that you are in fact about as welcome in Europe as an avalanche of toxic medical waste. And that's because you have gone out of your way to make yourselves unwelcome. The measure of you as people, as men, is that the hand of friendship has been offered to you and you have tried to chop it off. A golden opportunity that you don't deserve has been given to you on a plate, but all you can think about is smashing the plate. Freedom and prosperity are yours for the taking, but you're too stupid and downright uncivilized to understand or appreciate it. Instead, you aspire to dominate the ruins of a society that you'd like to destroy. You won't be happy until we're all living in the same kind of repressive, backward, third world sinkhole that you couldn't wait to get out of. How stupid are you? Of all your deeply unpleasant qualities, your arrogance is the most embarrassing to behold. You are the people on this planet with the very least to be arrogant about. You have absolutely nothing to be proud of. Your disgusting misogynistic culture is an insult to civilized people and a stain on humanity, and so are you. Your instincts are crude, ugly, and destructive. You contribute nothing because you have nothing to contribute. All you ever have to offer is moronic violence and phony grievance. You are the eternal aggressor who yet somehow manages to be the eternal victim. That's a neat trick. Well, the good news for us and the bad news for you is that this is all going to end soon, because people have had enough of it now, and they've had enough of you. Your greatest error is mistaking European generosity for weakness, because that's the impression that you've been given by the current crop of bedwetters, shysters and crooks who run things here. But they won't be running things for very much longer, because so many people in Europe are now sick to death of you and want you gone. People who welcome immigration and who are happy to live in a genuinely multicultural society of mutual enrichment and mutual respect have realized that your presence here makes that completely impossible, and that as long as you are here, it will remain impossible. So millions of people in Europe who once were tolerant and welcoming of you now don't want you anywhere near them, and especially not anywhere near their children. That's some reputation you've got yourselves there, but nobody can say that you haven't earned it. You and that rancid rape culture of yours 1,000,000 times over. You've blown it, boys. You've blown it big time. You've revealed yourselves to the civilized world. You've shown us exactly who and what you are. And now I'm afraid you'll have to excuse us for despising who and what you are, which is why we will not be dragged down to your level. Some will, of course, because thanks to you there are plenty of angry people in Europe more than willing to take to the streets and deal with you violent scumbags in the only language you seem to understand. But most of us will use our democracy, a civilized concept that you animals wouldn't understand, to remove the treacherous, cowardly politicians who have allowed you to poison our society half to death, and to elect people who would change the law to something resembling sanity, so that it's no longer possible for activist judges to let predatory scum like you remain on European soil for any reason whatsoever. And then you'll find out how welcome you are when your worthless criminal arses are swiftly deported right back to that moral cesspit that you crawled out of, with or without documentation, never to be allowed back into Europe again, and stuff your goddamned human rights, with all due respect.
Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it was a little bit long, but I had to play it. It was just something that I was going to play half of it, and I listened to the whole thing, and it's like, no, I gotta play this whole thing. It's just it was that epic, and I hope you thought it was too. I really did. Now we're going to move on a little bit here. 412-567-1460 if you want to call the program. I kind of shifted my screens around a little bit here, but I should be all right. Lou Dobbs came out the other night. This is by Breitbart, and Neil Monroe said that Speaker Paul Ryan should resign. House Speaker Ryan should resign his post, says Lou Dobbs, the radio host and anchor of Lou Dobbs Tonight on Fox Business Network. Dobbs tweeted his resignation call Tuesday morning after Breitbart posted a pre-election recording of Ryan saying that he would never defend President Donald Trump, and as multiple GOP legislators walked away from Ryan's Obamacare replacement proposal, the American Health Care Act. Dobbs tweeted, "Ryan should resign." Exclusive audio of Ryan abandoning Donald Trump, and he has a bunch of hashtags there and a link. Let's listen to Paul Ryan on this conference call. This is rather stunning, and I really don't think that Ryan has a prayer of holding on to his leadership. I really don't. And I'll let you decide what you think, but this is a really damning audio clip.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us. This is a member conference call. Clearly, this has been a tumultuous weekend. A lot of individual conversations, but thought it was important to have a call with the members. We do have a record number on the call, but that is great. I also want to encourage the members to consider that quite often when we have these calls, unfortunately, they are a lot of what is said is made public, and as much as it is,
look at them trying to do it undercover.
As we have this discussion today, I think it's important to just keep in mind that unfortunately, too often, what is said is made public. So we're going to work through some important conversations, and we're going to start with the speaker, work through leadership, hear from Greg Walden. This is an NRCC-sponsored call.
Donald Trump. I obviously stand by that statement. His comments are not anywhere in keeping with our party's principles and values. There are basically two things that I want to make really clear. As for myself as your speaker, I am not going to defend Donald Trump. Not now, not in the future. As you probably heard, I just invited him from my first congressional district GOP event this weekend, a thing I do every year, and I'm not going to be campaigning with him over the next 30 days. Look, you guys know I have real concerns with our nominee. I hope you appreciate that I'm doing what I think is best for you, the members, not what's best for me. And so I want to do what's best for our members, and I think that this is the right thing to do. I'm going to focus my time on campaigning for House Republicans. I've talked with a bunch of you over the last 72 hours, and here is basically my takeaway. To everyone on this call.
Now, I want you to listen to him pivot and listen to what a moron this guy really is. He wants night and he wants day. Listen to this pivot.
This is going to be a turbulent month. Many of you on this call are facing tough re-elections. Some of you are not. But with respect to Donald Trump, I would encourage you to do what you think is best and do what you feel you need to do. Personally, you need to decide what's best for you. And you all know what's best for you where you are. But the last thing I want to do is to help Hillary Clinton get the presidency and get Congress. Look, she's a failed progressive. She's running an abysmal campaign. I mean, it's amazing how easily she could be beaten. And she will take this country in the wrong direction. And the last thing we need is 4 more years of Obama policies or 2 years of a Clinton presidency with a Democrat Congress. Can you imagine what that would look like? So the last thing we want to be doing is giving Hillary Clinton a blank check in Congress. That's why I'm going to spend the rest of this month fighting for Congress, fighting for our majorities. I'm going to spend the next 28 days working hard with all of our members to get reelected because we need a check on Hillary Clinton. If Donald Trump and Mike Pence don't win the presidency, Greg Walden will get more into what that looks like and what polling looks like. But I want to basically close with this. His comments are indefensible. They're not in keeping with our principles. So I'm not going to try to defend him. I'm going to focus on Congress. I'm going to focus on upholding our values. We have a great policy agenda, a better way that we need to take to voters and show what our party actually stands for and what it stood for generations. Also, I know that there are a lot of you who want to have conversations. I've just cleared my schedule all day here. I'm in Janesville at home. So just give me a call. If if you don't feel comfortable talking on a conference call, which I completely understand, I'm here. Anybody wants to reach out and talk, I'm just here in my Janesville office. Call me here. And that goes for the rest of the leadership team. We're ready and available to discuss this or anything else with you if you'd like to. With that, I'm going to have the rest of the leadership give their thoughts, and then have Greg Walden give an update and go through a snapshot of what he's seeing right now with the NRCC with various polls. I understand that you all have reactions and responses to what has transpired this weekend. Many people have done their own different statements. I just encourage you to reach out to us privately if you want to talk this through further.
All right, there you go. The guy is all out for himself. Just look at his house. And I want to point out a couple things here also. I want to remind you that after every American statement that Donald Trump made, for instance, after he made the announcement that he was going to have a ban on people from terrorist countries coming into the United States, every single one of the Republican candidates for president of the United States thrashed him for it. The same thing happened in Chicago. In Chicago, when George Soros had Hillary Clinton and John Podesta's thugs rolled into Chicago that made it where he couldn't have a rally there, they all blamed it on him. They blamed the violence on their own nominee. So going forward, with these negotiations or whatever you want to call them, and any negotiations going forward, remember, this is going to hurt some of you, but remember, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Paul Ryan, obviously, Mitch McConnell, even possibly Rand Paul. Rand Paul is a different kind of a character. He's not an embedded guy like the rest of these guys are. He has a career that he could fall back on and make millions, but yet he goes and donates his time in ophthalmology for nothing in underprivileged countries. But just remember, none of these people are our friends. They might seem like they're our friends at times because they might be on the same side of an issue, but every last one of them would try to bury Trump in a heartbeat. Make no mistake about that. Every one of them would bury Donald Trump in a New York minute. There's just no question about that. So I only say that so you stay aware and alert as we go through the coming months and the way people position themselves on different bills and things like that. You can see the fraud in the Republican Party when they had a bill completely repealing Obamacare, and it was signed by everybody. It was voted on by everybody. And then when it's time for the rubber to meet the road, no such bill appears. And they act exactly as Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats did. They bring the bill out on Monday and start voting on it in committee on Wednesday and Thursday with no amendments allowed. No amendments have been allowed on this bill in the first two committees it's been through. It's going to go through two more. I think it's falling apart for him, though, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump is now more popular than Paul Ryan is in Janesville, in his congressional district. More people have a favorability. His rating is higher than Paul Ryan's. So that's the way we'll do that. And I was going to go to break, but Tracy from Tennessee called, so I'm going to hold off for a second and see what's on your mind. What's going on?
Hey, Hutch. A couple thoughts. Do you think that old law that Cruz found Pence could use in the Senate to do a lot more than the reconciliation?
Yeah, I think that would be no problem. I mean, but he has to have the cojones to do it, and he has to have the allies to do it too.
Because it looks like right now nothing's going to make it out of the Senate because of the Freedom Caucus. It looks like it's going to be split up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough votes in the Senate. I agree with you, and I think that's something
good.
that it's good, but it's bad when you have a Speaker of the House that isn't smart enough to realize that, and he brings the bill out anyway.
Want it. Yeah. I think that if it doesn't make it out of the Senate, it's going to be a failure for Paul Ryan, and then Trump's going to pretty much say, you screwed up, it didn't make it, so now I'm going to do it.
Well, I mean, he could use the bully pulpit. He could use the bully pulpit, and he could. It has to come from the House. No matter what it is. Now, the only thing is you only get one shot at reconciliation. So I don't think it'd be a problem. That's what I understand. But that doesn't matter, because the whole thing about 60 votes, that's just a Senate rule.
Right.
They can change that anytime they want. It doesn't say a word in the Constitution about 60 votes. That was just something that they came up with.
And then the other thing, and I guess I'm going to probably piss you off, but oh well. I love you and Wayne. But this pre-existing condition thing that you have a huge issue with, see, my concern as a nurse is people that have like a history of cancer would be pre-existing. Well, I have MS.
Let me explain what I meant, because I got a lot of pushback on that.
No, but I'm just saying,
No, I understand it. Let me tell you what I mean.
Okay.
I was talking about insurance. There's several ways that you can deal with that. Now, if this time right now is a special time because Obamacare blew everybody's insurance up, and there's going to be a whole lot of people that have to enter the insurance market for the first time or the second time or whatever. So there could be a period of time. There's two ways you can do it. There could be a period of time where pre-existing conditions are allowed, or there could be riders, that reasonable costing riders that you pay for the insurance. I'm not saying, I'm saying going forward, you cannot run an industry like insurance if you don't have some kind of rules that, all right, if you're adult and you want health insurance, you got to get it when you're young. Because otherwise, there's not enough funds in the insurance company funding to be able to handle the catastrophic medical conditions and things of older customers. It's the way it works. It works that way for housing insurance. And they're banking on people's houses not burning down.
Right.
And they're banking on people not crashing their cars. And the people that pay the premiums that do that don't crash their cars, allow there to be funding to pay for the people that do. But you can't let everybody buy insurance after the car wreck, or nobody will ever buy insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
especially,
I think some people that have had histories of cancer and like me with MS would probably qualify for like Medicare or something like that. Anyway,
But I'm just saying, I didn't want you to think I was heartless. I wasn't trying to put everybody.
No. I mean, I love you and Wayne both, but it was just like, that could affect me,
Well, here's the thing. You know how much fraud already, if you're a nurse, you know how much insurance fraud already happens.
Yeah.
And fraud in every government program that there's massive fraud.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine how many people in this country would not buy insurance if that was the rule? That you that you can buy insurance with pre-existing conditions? You'd be stupid to buy insurance.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I don't like the bill that's out. I mean, I don't agree with it at all. But I think most people would fall under. I mean, if you were eligible for disability. I mean, it took me 3 years, but I paid into it for 40. I mean, for a long, long time. So it took me 3 years and a judge to rule that I was able to have it. So, but if I hadn't, then insurance would have been a big issue for me because I couldn't afford it right now.
Well, not under these conditions. I mean, but normally, especially if you're working for a hospital or a doctor or whatever, most employment has decent insurance, at least before Obamacare.
Well, they used to. I mean, I don't.
And that's what we need to go back to.
We need private insurance.
Exactly.
Without
I gotta go, Tracy. Running out of time here. Thanks for calling. Call back anytime. And you didn't
have a good night. Okay.
How much Bailey Jr.? You're listening to Cold War Radio. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right back. This is Cold War Radio on We Are America Radio, WAAR. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Silver Star Medal to Frederick L. Roll, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action while serving with the 1st Battalion Airborne 509th Infantry Regiment during combat operations in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom on 4 April 2003 in Iraq. Staff Sergeant Roll displayed extraordinary heroism and gallantry when his team came under enemy fire in Iraq. Taking small arms and rocket-propelled grenade fire, Staff Sergeant Roll led his team back to their Bradley fighting vehicle during the battle for Baghdad International Airport. After accounting for his men, Staff Sergeant Roll observed fellow soldiers of Bravo Team 1st Squad who were pinned down in an exposed position under heavy enemy fire with no leadership. Staff Sergeant Roll jumped from his Bradley fighting vehicle, ran across open terrain under heavy fire to provide leadership for the exposed soldiers. Upon his arrival, Staff Sergeant Roll noted that one soldier had been shot through both legs. He organized Bravo Team and began suppressing fire, applied first aid to the soldier's legs, and called for an evacuation. Staff Sergeant Roll became aware that enemy fire was landing around the injured soldier and used his own body to shield the casualty from further injury. While providing cover, Staff Sergeant Roll was struck in the middle back of his interceptor ballistic vest by a 7.63 millimeter round. Staff Sergeant Roll continued to provide cover and direction to the Bravo Team soldiers until an evacuation vehicle arrived. The evacuation vehicle was unable to move closer to the team than 100 meters. Staff Sergeant Roll picked up the injured soldier and carried him to the vehicle under continued enemy fire. He then remained in an exposed position while the rest of Bravo Team reached the evacuation vehicle. Leaving the evacuation vehicle, Staff Sergeant Roll again encountered enemy fire as he moved to his Bradley fighting vehicle to rejoin members of his rifle team. Staff Sergeant Roll, job well done. God bless America.
All right, listen up, scumbags. This is not a mission for little girls. You see that over there? That would be the Mexican border. And we are going to invade, conquer, and own it. Do you understand me? Bullfeathers, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair. Hoorah, that's what I'm talking about. Franklin, they're all yours. Oh my God, we're toast. We don't stand a chance.
Nuclear explosions are caused by weapons such as H-bombs or atom bombs. They are like ordinary explosions, only many times more powerful. They cause great heat and blast. They also make a cloud of deadly dust, which falls slowly to the ground. This is what is called fallout. So these are the two dangers. First, heat and blast, which is followed by fallout. The heat and blast is so severe that it can kill and can destroy buildings for up to 5 miles from the explosion. Fallout is dust that is sucked up from the ground by the explosion. It can be deadly dangerous. It rises high in the air and can be carried by winds for hundreds of miles before falling to the ground. You can protect yourself and your family, and later on we will show you what steps to take.
And welcome back to Cold War Radio, ladies and gentlemen. we talked about a couple different things. One of the things that we need to do, and this is kind of instructional in nature, I've been saying that we need to stay on the campaign as opposed to just, laying back and thinking that everything's going to be okay and they're going to take care of it. That's not going to happen that way. The Democrats are in full combat mode. And one of the things that we need to do in 2018 is take down the Democrat 10. There's 10 Senate Democrats that are vulnerable in 2018, and the listeners are from all the states in the country. So I'm sure that some of you are able to reach out to some of these campaigns and maybe get involved a little bit yourself on the state level to try to get somebody to get in and, for instance, if you have a rhino that's going to run against one of these Democrats, maybe you try to primary the guy with somebody that's going to assist President Trump in making America great again. Some of the things that they've said, slandering Trump as Putin's Manchurian candidate turned president is a gambit aimed at destroying the man and his movement. And when you have Obama formally or casually sanctioning Trump Tower wiretaps without due process, that's criminal. Deep state mischief in concert with Obama holdovers threatens our liberties. With Loretta Lynch encouraging violence in the streets, that promotes lawlessness. This came from the American thinker, and J. Robert Smith did a really good job with it. Democrat president, this invites reprisals toward a future Democrat president. Does the nation survive if Democrats are fighting for a zero-sum win? Some of the things that they're doing is just something that will destroy us, But Republicans and conservatives who say that the truth wins out are just George W. Bush dumb. Politically anyway. There's a time for everything under the sun, but in politics today, mum rarely has a time. Permitting Democrats to repeat big lies without smart, effective, and rapid counter permits those lies to gain beachheads among voters. Independents who swing elections in many state contests are more prone to big lies. And this is why social media is such an increasingly powerful counter to the Democrats' big lies. As Barack Obama wisely said, elections have consequences. Or was that Valerie Jarrett that said that? Anyway, let's look at the 10 Democrats in order of vulnerability from most to least. The target list features Joe Donnelly of Indiana, Bill Nelson of Florida, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Claire McCaskill, Missouri, Heidi Heitkamp, North Dakota, Tammy Baldwin, Wisconsin, John Tester, Minnesota, Joe Manchin, West Virginia, Debbie Stabenow, Michigan, and Bob Casey Jr., the heroin-looking addict in Pennsylvania. So use your social media accounts, and there's certain questions that you can ask these people. Let's see if I can find them. Here's a question sampler. Obamacare is a disaster for average Americans. Why aren't you working with the president to reform health care, Senator Donnelly? And use their Twitter handle. Find their Twitter handles and use them so everybody that follows that person can see it. Or will you tonight publicly condemn Democrats for saying or suggesting that the president colluded with the Russians to fix last year's election, Senator Nelson? Or why did Democrats care more about the rights of illegal aliens than the rights, jobs, and safety of our citizens, Senator McCaskill? You get it, ladies and gentlemen? This is something. Social media is very powerful, and I almost forgot something. Let me just flip this around here so I can see it. But I want to thank Caleb for sending me an email. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I guess the administration must have been listening because General Mattis loses battle with White House over pick of high-level DOD official. Secretary of Defense James Mattis lost the fight with the White House over his pick of retired diplomat scumbag, that's my words, Ann W. Patterson for the position of Undersecretary for Policy and has subsequently withdrew her name. Thank the Lord, there is a God in the sky that is watching out for the United States. And again, Caleb, thanks for sending me that email. That was right on time. It was like 3 minutes before the show. I got that, and that was just beautiful. Thank you. See, now that I'm not saying I did that, but I was one of the few people on the radio talking about General Mattis screwed up. You didn't hear that anywhere else. You heard it in the article that I quoted at the time. I attributed it. I don't remember who it was, but I attributed it to them at the time. And so they were the ones that allowed me to see it. But this is what we have to do. We have the corporate media be damned. Don't even pay attention to them anymore. They're 3 days late on the stories they report, the ones that are right. Now, for instance, let's look at this one. Julian Assange claims pro-Clinton deep state supporting Mike Pence coup, and Pence responds. Against the backdrop of intelligence reports pointing toward the UK as the source of President Obama's covert surveillance over candidate and President-elect Trump, a claim from UK London resident Ecuadorian embassy captive, Julian Assange takes on additional dimension. Assange is essentially claiming the pro-Clinton deep state institutional systems are working toward the elimination of President Trump via congressional action and then replacing Trump with Vice President Pence. He tweeted a couple times. Clinton stated privately this month that she is quietly pushing for a Pence takeover. She stated that Pence is predictable, hence defeatable. Two intelligence community officials close to Pence stated privately this month that they are planning on a Pence takeover, did not state if Pence agrees. It should be noted that both the officials close to Pence and Hillary Clinton spoke of moving toward an impeachment, not other action. And that kind of refers to what people say could have happened. A, with President Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, and B, with Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. I was a little nervous of Pence when they put him in there because of that, too. But let's listen. I have a clip, actually, of Vice President Pence. Let's listen to what he had to say on the Laura Ingraham show.
Trap Vice President Pence for both you and President Trump. That's what my concern.
I understand that.
Because I want you to be successful.
Now, one thing I got to tell you here. This is how not to interview the Vice President of the United States. Sorry, Laura, I love you, but woman, you talk too damn much.
Trap Vice President Pence for both you and President Trump. That's what my concern.
I understand that.
Because I want you to be successful. I have one. Can we move just to one more topic? Because I think we've gotten all we can get on the healthcare. Julian Assange, of course, the WikiLeaks founder, has tweeted out two fairly controversial, incendiary things today. He said that Clinton stated privately this month that she is quietly pushing for a Pence takeover. She stated that Pence is predictable, hence defeatable. And they quote two sources, intelligence community sources, who didn't say that you agree with this takeover, but that intelligence community officials close to Pence stated privately this month that they're planning on a Pence takeover. What's your reaction to that?
I would find that all of that dialogue to be absurd and frankly offensive. It is the greatest honor of my life to serve shoulder to shoulder with the 45th President of the United States and to see his leadership every day, to see the compassion that he has for the American people every day. I would dismiss that out of hand and tell you that I'm so excited about the progress that we've made, strengthening this country, protecting this country, reviving this country's economy, and all credit goes to President Donald Trump.
Do you think that that we as Republicans and President Trump specifically, it's easy to talk about what's bad with liberalism, and I do that a lot, but maybe we need to talk about more about what's great about conservatism. More choices, more freedom, greater competition. I think that inspirational, aspirational rhetoric that we heard in the joint session speech, it was so great. I just loved that speech. That was like, I was on cloud nine after that speech. It was awesome. And I think,
man, I'll tell you, in a 2-minute clip, the radio interviewer is not supposed to talk for a minute and a half. I'm just saying. I would have never done it that way. That right there, what should have happened is, as soon as she heard his voice, she should have shut it. She should have let him talk. People wanted to hear him. But that's just inside baseball. I don't know about you. I'm going to give you my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the man. I believe he's 100% genuine when he says that. I don't think he has any aspirations to derail this guy. I think he has put his fortunes on Donald Trump's coattails. Whether or not that's what he wants to do, I think that's what he's basically done. I think he's a loyal guy. He seems to be. We'll see. I mean, but this is something that I don't sense any friction between them. But we'll know more as we go. These things they always come out after the fact. That's just the nature of what's going on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you remember the big to-do about the U.S. attorneys that were fired and the cocky, audacious Preet Bharara, former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, that refused to resign immediately, so they had to terminate him publicly, I guess. But there's two New York politicians, and one of the reasons that some conservatives were a little bit concerned about the firing was because he had a couple people under investigation. Now, it's amazing that these same people don't realize that nothing happened to these people. And I'm talking about Bill de Blasio and Andy, whatever the mayor Cuomo is. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio have not joined the pylon because of the high-profile corruption investigations Bharara was engaged in that involved both officials. So they're just quiet as church mice, But, I would go on to say that I don't know about the de Blasio case so much, but the Cuomo case was supposed to bury him 3 years ago, and it didn't. It seemed like he almost benefited from this Bharara or whatever, this Preet. So I don't know. That's just a little flaky there. Now, something to watch. Tomorrow is the election in the Netherlands. Geert Wilders would strike a blow to global jihad and would further underline the fact that people across the world, the Western world, we should never be ashamed to say that we are part of a bigger culture that is being subjugated in Europe. But Geert Wilders is a very honest and straightforward guy when it comes to these savages. He probably ought to get Pat Condell to help him out, but he's in the UK and England, and Geert is in the Netherlands. But they need all the help they can get. His election's tomorrow. God, pray for him. I hope he wins. It will further the Brexit Trump movement across the world, and we can finally start dealing with this in a truthful manner, which we just have not done to this point. So it's something that I'm really hoping that he comes through and gets a majority over there and starts getting his country squared away, and by design, other countries will as well. Now, there was a person at Middlebury College. They invited Charles Murray, famous for the bell curve, a libertarian, to speak, and the students were so outraged that, the guy had to flee for his life, and the liberal professor, what's her first name, Allison Stanger, was put in the hospital over the deal. But, liberals are warriors, man. They're not warriors. They extort each other is what it is. But what happened with her is that she came out of the hospital, and of course the first thing that she did when she came out of the hospital was blame Donald Trump for the whole thing, even though the students that she had indoctrinated for years, the leftist, mindless, no tolerance students that she had, turned on her and gave her a concussion and everything else. She blamed it on Donald Trump. So she's a real class act, got what she deserved. But we are going to have to deal with this spawn that we've allowed to get so out of control out here. Because if you look in the 60s, the people in the 60s that were out in the street were the Clinton and Obama administration. And if these people end up in charge of anything, it's going to be tough being old in America. I'm just saying. We got to get a handle on this. I want to thank everybody in the chat room. Thanks to everyone listening live and listening to the podcast later on down the line. Send me an email, especially if you're from overseas. I want to know. I still didn't get an email from Murfreesboro, however you say that. But if you're serving our nation overseas, please send me an email, SCRTV. Give me as many details as you are allowed to do without any compromising of anything. I'd like to recognize you. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, Berg's Eye View on Twitter. The Wayne Dupree program coming up next on RSBN.TV and Spreaker. Thanks for letting me into your life. For 1 hour, I'm Hutch Bailey on Facebook and Gab, Berg's Eye View on Twitter. I'll be back to do it all again Thursday night with my co-host Stacey Rush from Atlanta, Georgia. It'll be a good program, no doubt. Got to figure out what's wrong with Skype, though. Now, I did a little bit of research, and Skype was purchased by Microsoft. So maybe I'm going to start climbing up Microsoft's tree and finding out why you can't add a call anymore. It's getting very frustrating, especially on a high-volume show like Wayne's. But we got to find out. If anybody out there knows, now don't send me a big, long troubleshooting guide, but if you know what's going on, why you can't add a call to Skype anymore, I'd really like to know that. Anyway, thanks for letting me into your life for 1 hour, ladies and gentlemen. God bless.